The campaign for the US midterm elections is about to kick off in earnest. History does not bode well for the Republicans, but it is also true that we have a president who doesn't believe the rules of history apply to him. What will Trump do to avoid the fate of becoming a lame duck? And what should you be doing with your money right now? Trump is either very lucky or a chess master. How else can we explain the decision of 8 Democratic senators to support the Republican stopgap bill to reopen the government this week? One thing is clear enough, though. The Democrats are much less united than the Republicans right now. The internal tensions between the moderate Democrats and the progressives cost them what should have been an easy victory in the shutdown fight. And do not let anyone tell you that this was all about the midterm. Among the 8 Democratic senators who defected, 2 are retiring, and not a single one of the rest is facing re-election in the midterm next year. This is how I see it. Chuck Schumer had Trump exactly where he wanted him, but his team scored an own goal to lose the game. As much as Schumer would like to forget what happened this week, it will have consequences. What does Trump's victory in the shutdown fight mean for financial markets? First, the market will be much less concerned about another potential shutdown in February when the stopgap bill expires. For a shutdown to instill fear on Wall Street, markets have to believe that both sides have the stomach for a long-drawn fight, even if it inflicts pains on the economy and voters. My hunch says that Schumer will think twice before playing the same game again. This removes a major downside risk for the US economy in 2026. Second, Trump's grip on his party is likely to tighten further. With his brinksmanship having paid off, he will face even less internal dissent in the months ahead. My guess is that he will have an even freer hand in 2026 than in 2025. But what does this mean in action? What will be Trump's policy priorities in 2026? The midterm elections are only a year from now. Campaigns will soon start to ramp up. Trump is well aware that if he loses his majority in either the Senate and the House, it will bring an abrupt end to the legislative phase of his second term. Moreover, he knows that Democrats are already gearing up for an oversight onslaught if they win the midterm. They will likely start with an impeachment trial of the crypto dealings of Trump affiliates that have netted Trump and his family billions of dollars of new wealth. A tidal wave of Democratic subpoenas and depositions will be enough to bog down Trump for the rest of his administration. Trump's name will not be on the ballot in the midterm, but we can assume that he has an overwhelming incentive to help his party retain its congressional majorities. The problem Trump has is that he will be going against history. In 20 of the past 22 midterm elections, the president's party has lost seats in the House. But if there's one thing we know about Trump, it is that he does not think history applies to him. His victory over the Democrats over the shutdown has likely strengthened his self-confidence. Trump likes beating the odds. My bet is that he will throw the kitchen sink at the midterm. He will stop at nothing. But don't get me wrong, he will have his work cut out for him. For one thing, he will need a much higher approval rating than he has right now to have even a fighting chance in the midterm. The Republican victory in the 2002 midterm owed much to the popularity of George W. Bush, who enjoyed an approval rating of 63% on election day. The Democrats picked up 5 seats in the midterm of 1998 only because Bill Clinton had an approval rating of 66%. Trump began his presidency with a respectable approval rating of 50, but it's been sliding since, reaching just 42 this week. And 42 is not that far from his approval rating on the election day of the 2018 midterm. In that election, the Republicans were given a drubbing, losing 42 seats in the House. So how might Trump try to pull out what seems like an impossible feat? Whatever he might do to improve his rating will have a huge impact on the outlook for financial markets in 2026. Trump's biggest problem is affordability. His approval rating for his handling of inflation dropped to just 35 this week. Trump, of course, blames this on the Democrats, accusing them in an interview on Fox this week of manufacturing the inflation narrative. But there are some signs that he's coming around to reality. Last week, he admitted that American consumers might be paying something for his tariffs. Scott Bessent said yesterday that substantial relief in tariffs for coffee and bananas is coming soon. Besides inflation, there's also the fact that the job market has slowed. Even if the Fed were to keep cutting rates, which is a big if, it is not a given that hiring will be ramping up before the midterm. There's no question that the midterm will be a referendum on inflation and jobs. The Trump administration has been highly activist on the economy. We should assume that Trump won't be able to resist tinkering with the economy ahead of the midterm. But how? In my view, the Republicans will try to push through another reconciliation bill before the midterm. It won't be as sweeping as the big beautiful bill, but it will be more targeted with the midterm in mind. Whatever you might say about Trump, he has excellent political instincts. I think his idea of a tariff rebate for every American is a political winner. It is also economically sound. If the purpose of the tariffs is to make American goods more competitive by lowering their effective relative prices, a tariff rebate would preserve the positive substitution effect while neutralizing the negative income effect. I think it is safe to assume that such a rebate will be a key feature of the second reconciliation bill. But when can we expect it to happen? I think it will happen already in Q1. They will need to get it done quickly so that the effects of the stimulus will show up before the midterm. My guess is that they will try to get it done before the Supreme Court passes down its verdict over the constitutionality of Trump's tariffs. Legal experts believe that a Supreme Court decision will come down sometime in the middle of next year, but the administration is likely to not want to take any risk. Now that the shutdown is over, my view is that House Republicans will soon start pushing another reconciliation bill into motion. Such a bill is also likely to address health care with the pending expiration of the Obamacare premium subsidies. What does all this mean for market? We can assume that 2026 will be all hands on deck when it comes to the US economy. Trump needs to fire up the economy without stoking inflation further. My baseline is that we will see fiscal stimulus, but no new actions on the trade war front. Does this mean the stock market will have another good year in 2026? I'm not sure, only because I remain bearish on the AI bubble. Indeed, I remain of the view that we will see a reckoning of the bubble in 2026. But I can see retail stocks outperforming tech next year. But one thing for sure, the US budget deficit will get bigger next year. Even before any more fiscal stimulus, the impact of the tax cuts for overtime pay, Social Security income, and tips will weigh on the budget in Q1 next year. Also, with the slowdown in the labor market, it is difficult to see the strong growth of personal income tax revenue continuing next year. Federal debt held by the public increased in 2025 relative to the size of the economy, rising to 99.8% from 97.4% of GDP at the end of fiscal year 2024. I think the US yield curve will steepen next year, especially if Trump goes with Kevin Hassett as the replacement for Jerome Powell. This is why I have turned my long position in 5-year notes into a 5 30 steepeners early this week. I could see either bull steepening or bear steepening next year. A bursting of the AI bubble will lead to bull steepening. Priming the fiscal pump will lead to bear steepening. A lot can still happen before the new year, but I think fiscal dominance will be a key theme in 2026. Thank you for listening.